So Dr. Bhuvanesh, what advice would you give to someone interested in integrating spirituality and contemplative practices into their daily life for improved well-being?
Begin with listening to your body. Your body is your first step. You experience yourself as a body first, and then as a mind. So be rooted in your body. Listen to your body and learn to listen to your body. It comes naturally to infants, but as we grow in societal contexts, in our cultural contexts, we learn to listen to outside sources. They're useful, but you also learn to ignore what the body is telling you. Whether the body is hungry, you look at the clock, you look at the context. Yes, eating is social, but also it is very much a physiological and a bodily existence that we are rooted in. So listen to your body, prepare your body to train your mind, and then you have a good understanding of how to interact with the world.
That's fair, and that's very well said. I do want to ask you, and I think you're going to go very deep into this next question. What does freedom mean to you in the context of neuroscience and in the most broadest term possible? What does freedom truly mean to you? And do you consider yourself free?
When we use the term freedom, English language term for me, we need to be clear. What are we referring to? Freedom to do something, freedom for something, or freedom from something? Now, freedom may not be standalone for a lot of people. It's like freedom from bondage. So freedom exists in duality for a large chunk of people. Now, that is true. Freedom to do something. Now, I see freedom as the capacity to not do what you're capable of doing, to not take that action which you want to take, or which you're compelled to take, or which you're nudged to take. So freedom also implies the capacity to reflect, self-reflection, also called cognitive control. Now, my own perspective is, where do thoughts come from? That's what I started with. Where do emotions come from? They come from our body. I don't want to give ready answers, because when you have ready-made answers, you have no freedom. So the freedom to investigate, the freedom to question yourself first and the others around you, freedom to find out, which means freedom from the known. Vast body of human knowledge is very important, very useful, very critical as a collective enterprise. But as an individual, you may want to have that possibility, that gap from knowledge that has been brought about by others, society, science, spirituality, religion, anything. They're useful. They serve important functions. I'm not discrediting them. I'm saying the capacity to observe that these are not my thoughts. Well, I have experienced it, so I know. These are somebody else's ideas. These are somebody else's aspirations, somebody else's views. Do I want to borrow them and say, this is my own? Or do I want to entertain them and see, okay, these are ideas. These are useful ideas. How much do I agree with them? Do I need to say that I have my own ideas? And then finally, a state of freedom from thought, freedom from the noise that is around you. And then, as you were describing or alluding to, for some moments, you're completely at rest without this cacophony, this cloud of ideas, of thoughts, of emotions, and things like that. So that, to me, is freedom. Freedom from the known, freedom from the environment, and freedom from my own idea of what is supposed to be a freedom approach.
I truly never heard about it being talked in that regard, in those terms, and you made me think about there's even freedom to restrict yourself from, so there's freedom and restriction, and it's kind of a dichotomy, right? It's kind of a contradiction in certain ways. Would you say that, or am I thinking about it in the wrong terms?
I would say not restriction, but the capacity to see that you have the freedom to choose that option which is presented to you. No, mostly attention or human behavior is automatic. Like any other animal, we have automatic urges, we act on instincts, we have habits. But this possibility that there is an automaticity and you can observe that automaticity. So you're not restricting yourself. You're just observing. When you have created that gap, you can observe that gap. Okay, do I have to act? Do I have to get angry? No. You may be compelled. So there is a freedom in that moment. And you will realize it when you experience it. You can create it in an artificial context, but you can actually feel it. Then you will realize, oh, that's called responsive ability. I call it responsive ability is responsibility. So that is towards yourself first. Only then you are an integrated human being. Otherwise, you are just responding to environmental cues, like a device is responding to environmental cues. Right? We are developing lots of automatic. We have automatic devices, and we are developing a lot of automation, artificial intelligence, and many other things. They're all going to influence how we react. And they're sometimes going to compel you, as Dr. Lund was mentioning, the environment in which we exist. Sometimes human beings make choices that may not be optimal. So I want to emphasize that it's not restriction or stopping yourself. It's the capacity to recognize that there is an automaticity here. My response is needed or not needed. That is freedom. To choose whether I want to respond or not.
Very well said. I'm very excited to do the collective meditation, the meditative session. I think this will be interesting. I'm going to put my tools aside so I could truly detach. And if you don't mind, we'll just go through a 2-3 minute meditation session. It would be amazing if you all join us and try to disconnect. Is that fair to say?
Disconnect from things we don't need to be connected with.
Detach.
You want to connect with something more so that you don't need things, unneeded connections. You want to suspend them.
Let's do it.